Hello and welcome to This Is Us. My name is Dee and I'm your host. And let me introduce you to our wonderful panelists. We have Tyler.
Hey, what's up, people? Hope you're well.
We have Jude.
Namaste, namaste.
And we have G.
Hello.
Okay, before we start today's topic, if you can please just hit subscribe and the notification, which is the bell icon, and finally like this page. So today we will be talking about marriage. We're going to be talking about sustaining the marriage and the things that we do and sort of just around what happens in a marriage and influences that can occur within a marriage. So I'm going to sort of start with myself. So when I was getting married, both myself and my husband were very clear in regards to how much we were willing to spend. So our budget towards our wedding. For the mere fact of, we know that weddings can be expensive if you don't have a budget. But the last thing you want to do is start a wedding or start a marriage in debt. And my husband was very clear, we are not starting this marriage in debt. So I'm going to ask Jude. Jude, what is your opinion when people start spending over budget on their wedding and start marital life in debt? What's your opinion? I know you're laughing.
I didn't know you was going to contribute first. I was thinking, oh yeah, Tyler's going to get the first question. yeah. My views on marriage. We have to define what marriage is. People start living together. What is that? Then which is the marriage? Is it after the church vows or the traditional, the one we call our traditional wedding? But it is actually our wedding. Then we do the church one as well. Which is it? Well, yeah, your question is direct, straightforward. I'm like your husband. I would not have wanted to go into our life going forward from the church vows or the traditional vows with debt. So I'm not a fan of that. To answer that question straightforward, I'm not a fan of that. But then again, though, we have to be mindful that these are two adults and maybe one of them wanted a fairy tale wedding. I've seen beautiful pictures and videos of marriages that I saw and I was like, wow, that is gorgeous and beautiful. Do I want that? Absolutely not. But yeah. I definitely will not be subscribing to that that we should go in debt. And it's like what you call the notice me in Nigeria parlance. So they've noticed me, they've come, they've danced, they've eaten. And then I start counting all the money they spray, and it's not even up to £100 because they were busy spraying $1 bills. And then I'm going like 20K in debt. Then I start grumbling. And we could quickly come to blows with that. Trust me, it's happened.
But we know that, okay, I know marriage is such a beautiful thing. And a lot of people I know from when I was younger, I've always wanted to get married and live that fairy tale of living in my castle with my prince and having all the little children running around. But we know that when it comes to the actual planning and preparation towards a wedding, that takes a lot of, how would I put it? That's the beginning, because you have to communicate, you have to work together with the person that you intend on marrying in order to step over that broomstick, in order to get to the other, in order to walk down the aisle and say your vows. But there are people out there that want the fairy tale and it's like the wedding is it. The wedding is the marriage, rather than thinking that once that day's over, we've still got to live together. Tyler, what are your views in regards to that?
Okay, so first of all, the wedding is just one day. It's just one day. The marriage is meant to be for life. So you go and spend all that money on one day, it's a waste. I'll tell you that right now. I had a beautiful wedding, myself and my wife. We had a beautiful wedding. Did we have any debt? No, not one penny of debt. And I'm telling you, when we woke up the next day in the morning in our hotel suite and we realized that we didn't have one penny of debt, that was the best feeling ever. I promise you that. Now, we were very smart when it comes to budgeting with our wedding. We still had a great wedding, but we were very smart. My wife was a genius at so at the end of the day, what I say is, if you've got the money to spend, if you've got that money, or if your parents are paying for it or whatnot, whatever, I'm not judging you. Spend £500,000 if you want to. But what I'm saying is this one day, and people come to your wedding, they eat your food, they complain about your food, they go to the toilet after and do out your food, and then they'll talk. Real talk. So no, I know. I'm a guy that I used to work with. That, you know, I'm not gonna say no names, but he got married, and just before he got married, he got a car, and then so he had a car. He had like a big loan for the car, and then he had the loan for the wedding, and he started his wedding in like 30K debt.
Yeah.
What? Whoa.
And you know, there's some people that break up before the debt's even been paid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's recipe for disaster. Oh boy.
So yeah, not a fan.
It is, because as I said, as I think back, we literally were just like, well, I was asked, what do I want? And then it's like, this is what I want. Okay, let's budget it out, which is what we did. And I had the best wedding ever. I loved my wedding.
Good.
And it was, the day was over. When we went for our honeymoon, we sat there, we said, you know what? We don't owe a penny. We do not owe 1 penny to anyone. And then it's that whole thing as well, where you have a wedding, and as you said, people come, they eat your food, they drink your drink, but where are they in the marriage? Are they there the next day? Are they there the next month? Are they there the next year? That's what you really need to think about. I'm going to ask this sort of a personal question. G, did you have a big wedding in regards to guests, or did you have a more intimate wedding, as in a small number?
I think what I always refer to my wedding as a community effort wedding. As I may have mentioned before, my dad opposed to my getting married to my husband for religious reasons, and I decided to go ahead with it. And I remember, I knew for a fact I wasn't going to get into any debt for the wedding. There wasn't a lot of money to speak on to begin with, and I mean nothing. And I think once I decided to go ahead with it, my plan was to find a nice posh restaurant that myself and my husband, maybe 10 guests or so, you know, those places that have like a private room, and we'll go to the private room, we'll get a DJ for sure, because, you know, there's always room for a DJ, and I know so many anyway, and still have like a party afterwards. But that was my original plan. And then my husband's auntie, then she's based in the UK, she's like, no, we have to do wedding, no, I know, we have to do it well, you know, that kind of thing. And I was very clear that there was no money. So what happened was, obviously I'm an accountant, chartered. I drew up the spreadsheet.
I like
put
the
everything on there. I knew the basics. So the basics for me were food, drink, and the venue. Because I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to, you know. So managed to get the numbers down to, I think, 150. I think it's still a lot for me. Imagine going from wanting 10 people to 150.
150.
I'm like, okay. And then, so I did the whole plan. I knew how much everything was going to cost. I knew I didn't have that money. We didn't have that kind of money. There was no savings, no nothing. And my dad made it very clear, I'm not giving you nothing. You're on your own. If you want to do it on your own. So what happened was, a lot of my friends, very close friends, I put them in like we all had a meeting sort of, and they're like, yeah, they want to contribute. So they said, okay, instead of giving you gifts, we'll pick an item from the wedding list, to-do list to pay for. So a friend paid for my shoes. Another one that happened to be a fashion designer, she's now a big PR guru in Nigeria. She made my dress for free. All I had to do was pay for the material. Another one bought my 2 pairs of shoes that I needed. The girl that does my nails, she also makes cakes. She made all the cupcakes. My friend that happened to be a wedding planner, she did the wedding planning for next to nothing. I think she was the only person.
You managed to budget it out with those that you know that were close to you.
Exactly. So everything was budgeted out. And then my job at the time, because they knew the history of me and my husband getting together and the whole love story behind it, they decided to give me an interest-free loan of, I think it was like £3,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think my whole wedding was less than £8,000, the whole thing. And they said, pay the loan back whenever you can. I paid that loan back in less than 6 months after the wedding, but there was no interest. This is a job I'd left. I left the job a month before I got married. And I was like, this is our gift to you, because you know.
So if we think about, so we've all sort of spoke about when we got married and the wedding, and the wedding's just the beginning, because as Tyler mentioned, it's just a day. It's the day where we have the union, but it's not something that you want to have spent so much on, and it affects the marriage, because that's something that could affect the marriage. Because once you start day one, it's that whole, we still got that debt to pay if you had the debt from the wedding. But moving on, as time goes on and you've been married for you've done the honeymoon period where everything is hunky-dory, and it's that whole, we sort of, I don't know, you'd have lived together, spent time together, and you know each other before you got married. But for the first year or two, everything's running smoothly. And then we now have start thinking about the influence perhaps of work. So I know, for example, with my husband, he works shifts and I work 8 till 5, depending, and I bring work home with my occupation. And with that, we tend to not really have time for each other. So that, for me, that's a big influence on our marriage. So I was just going to ask, Tyler, does your occupation have an effect on or what influence does it have on your marriage?
Yeah, so definitely does. Myself and my wife are both actors. So now we've got our daughter. It's changed a bit, but previously, before we had a child, it was, if one of us got a job, we'd have to be away. So there's been times when my wife's been away for, 3 weeks or whatever. There's been times when I've been away for 2 months doing a job. We see each other intermittently, but so yeah, definitely that. But at the end of the day, we both understand the career and we both understand the job. Therefore, it's part of our. Now the difference is when a job comes up, we'll discuss it, and it's kind of like, okay, can we do this? Can we make it work? Even now during these COVID times, she just said no to a job that was in filming in 2 different countries. And then it was going to be, I would have been at home with our daughter for a month, and she's never left her daughter for that long, our daughter for that long. Therefore, that would have been a bit crazy, So yeah, it definitely has an impact. But we make it work.
As Tyler just said, they make it work, and that takes things like communication, having patience for each other, so having that time to sit down and talk it through to see what works. Jude, how has work influenced your marriage in any, or how has work influenced your marriage?
I'm a social worker, so it's 9 to 5 job, they call it. Yeah, I still do come home, but you get ready for work from 6 o'clock. You come back from being a social worker, you're really not switched off. You're still doing the job in your head because it's all about that thinking. It's not like I'm stocking up shelves in some supermarket and I just stock up shelves and I walk away. No, I'm dealing with humans and the fragility of humans and carry them along. I still think about them weekends. But let's say work has really affected anything? Not really, in the sense that we've not really talked about it, but I know it's there because there'll be times I'll switch off, definitely switch off. But during this COVID period, it's definitely affected it because it's giving us a false sense that we are at home. The children see me more during the time of the height of the lockdown, and my wife does see me more, but it's like the language I always like to use. We're being very, very closed strangers. I'm sat there and talk. And she sat there. We don't talk the whole day. I'm stuck with my computers and on phone calls, on reviews, on chasing queries, chasing people, chasing other professionals. This is day in, day out. That's how it's been. But I'm in the house, basically. They're grateful for that. But this man don't talk to them. So it does have impact on the sex life and everything. It does definitely have impact, Oh yeah, I can see the eyebrows raising. Yeah, it does.
No, because
You said sex.
Not your eyebrows.
You did say that word.
You have a lunch break. Do you not have a lunch break at work?
Oh, when I do my lunch, thank you for asking, Tyler. Now I'm stuck there chasing people. By the time I get to my lunch hour, I don't even want to see anybody. I want to run out of the door. This is the routine I do. So I run out, I go do my running, then I come back, and once I finish work, I go out again to do my walking. I know I'm breaking the lockdown rules because they say go out once, but I'm doing it twice. But this is how I've got to keep myself sane, because just being there physically, it doesn't really matter if the mind is not there. And truly, the mind has not been there, and it's been like that for a long time. So
you need to change up your exercise routine, man. You should stop the running and do something close.
I know you say this, but I was just reading up an article this morning of a young woman who said she's what they call asexual. Is that what they call it? Or asexual?
Asexual,
yeah. And I thought, what is this again? I've heard it before, but I then read a bit of the articles, a young black woman. And she said, it's not that I don't like sex. I just don't want to have it with people. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And she said, that's the issue with her. She said she does other things to get her own pleasure, but she doesn't want that physicality with people anymore. And I thought at a point, I got to that stage as well during the lockdown because of work. Trust me.
Yeah. For me, because I've had to reduce my hours at work for the mere fact of it does have an effect on my health and my family life. And one of the things my husband used to complain about was, as a teacher, as much as we work in school, we bring a lot home. So we've got planning, marking, and I'm normally up to about 10, 11 o'clock doing schoolwork. And he hated it with passion. As much as we're sitting next to each other, we're not communicating, we're not talking, we're not, because I'm sitting there still working. And it took for me having to reduce my hours. And with that, I say, these are the days that I can work from home. And thereafter, I'm not. We've noticed now that we do have more time together. So we're sitting there, we do our Netflixing or our DJ Sleek on Twitch. We have those nights in. So it's been quite nice that we've been able, and the lockdown has made a difference for both of us, for the fact that we are having to work, well, I'm having to work from home, was having to work from home on some days. So to me, it did have an influence on our marriage, what it does in regards to my occupation and his. I think it would be more difficult if two people work shifts. So if both, and like Tyler's one is when one goes far away for a month or 2 months. Honestly speaking, I don't know how I'd be able to do that.
That's not all the time. That's just
not all the time. I know, but I just wouldn't. I don't know. It's a difficult one. It is a really difficult one, depending on the occupation. G, do you have anything to add in regards to work and its influence on marriage?
Well, I was actually just sitting here trying to rack my brain about how it was before lockdown. And I know before lockdown, I definitely used to work from home a couple of days a week, and I would be kind of like on the days when my husband was also working from home, I'd get a bit excited, like, oh, okay, we're working from home, just ask the babies at nursery. But honestly, nothing happened. It was just work. And then lockdown happened, and I was obviously happy. My family's safe there. He's at home with me. I can see him, he's right there, sort of thing. But at the same time, I thought, oh, okay, when the baby's at nursery, there's all this free time and stuff, but not much changed. And then I think as the lockdown went on, I realized that I missing him, if that makes sense. So normally, if I'm at work and he's at work, he leaves the house because he works in London. I'm in Milton Keynes. He'll leave home like 6:30 or something like that. So he's gone before my second eye has opened. So I look forward to seeing him. So even though I saw him in the morning, I miss him all day, and then I see him. But then when you're in lockdown, you kind of see them all day. His office is just right next door to mine. And it's a bit like, okay, I missing him, if that makes sense. So that kind of
does make sense.
That meant that we had to do more
effort, put more effort into
put more effort, but not to make it feel like effort. You don't want it to feel like work. And I think since the lockdown, we talk a lot more. Like he'll come here to my office for like a 10-minute break or nap, and then I'll go to his office and disturb him. And when he's on a Zoom call, I cannot dance sexy, but I try. And then he literally put his arm out, like his video is on, back off, sort of thing. So we try little things, but it's kind of happened organically, but we haven't like sat down to be like, okay, right, how do we keep this spark going? And it's a conversation I keep saying to him we need to have, because it's really important. And but so far, thank God, it's fine, and I still fancy him, so that helps.
I'm sitting here, and I don't know if this is taking it somewhere else, but it takes me back to something that Tyler's asked before, where it's that whole, why can't the woman see, Jude, you've started something. You mentioned a 3-letter word, and I can't get it off my head.
What is that?
Tyler said, why can't women instigate it? Now, I've seen this advert, I don't even know if it was a TikTok, where the lady walks in, the man's playing this computer game, and she walks in and she literally just strips it all off, and it's like, yeah, I'm here. And it just, I don't know, it just gets me thinking in regards to this lockdown. If everybody, and if people were sort of on that level of thoughts and reflection, possibly depending, it's those sort of things could occur where you'd sort of spice things up in your marriage. I know you've all been cooped up together and locked up, but there's odd little things you could do, like the whole, because I don't know if I want to go there, but
go on, give us tips.
Let me go there.
Give us tips.
Let me go there for you. Let me set the scene, right?
Okay.
I'm not gonna work in the corporate world, right? I'm at my desk right now, and I've got a serious, I'm doing some emails and whatnot. I'm talking to the boss, and then my wife comes in now, wearing some nice, fine lingerie. Yeah, yeah, new one that I've not seen before. The way I'm going to drop that email, drop that phone call, I've got something important coming through. Let me call you back. Let me call you back. Yeah.
Exactly.
10 minutes. Time out. You mad, fam? Try it out. Try it out to your husband.
You know, you go for your run at lunch. That possibly could be happening. It's that whole. We need to. That's one of the things that people can think in regards to sustaining the marriage. We know we get busy and things like that, but those little spur of the moment things, they make a difference. Little things like putting your arm around each other, as in walking past each other and brushing each other, arm around the waist, the squeeze of the bum cheek, all that kind of stuff. It does.
Those things are very important for women, I must say. They're extremely important. Yeah, that tactile touching is very, very important. Very.
It is.
Yeah,
and then, sorry, go on, Jude.
No, I've just said, okay, I've learned something.
Write it down, Jude. Write it down.
Yeah, let me get a pen.
So we've spoken about the effects of work on, or the influence of work on marriages. But then before we got married, we've got our family, we've got our friends. And I'm going to start with friends, because we know that friends can really get involved sometimes, where we know that sometimes they're not required as much as we might love our friends, and they were practically family before, but we found that spouse, we found the person that we want to spend the rest of our lives with. But we know that sometimes our friends come with their own opinions, or they come with answers to certain things, and we're just, do we listen? Do we not listen? How much are we allowed? Oh, actually, how much are we allowed, or how much influence do we accept from our friends into our marriages? I'm not going to go to Jude first, because I know Jude's response would be, I don't keep friends. That would be
exactly.
I'm going to put it past it to you, Jude.
Me?
Yes, me.
Right. So for me, friends before marriage were fine. Like friends' opinions of my relationship was honestly neither here nor there, because I was very aware that it is I that is in the relationship. So what they see or what they perceive, that's their opinion, that's their assumption. But what I'm facing in it is what I know to be true. And in terms of marriage, I don't think I have any one that's kind of like, funny enough, after I got married, friends do this thing, and this goes for my married friends and my single friends. They did this thing where they leave you alone, saying, oh, you're married now, go and enjoy your husband. I'm thinking, so I'm the one calling them like, oh, what's up, what's going on, are we going out, are we meeting up? And they like, oh no, but your mom, like, just because I got married doesn't mean our friendship has to end. I don't have that many friends to begin with, but I still have a life. I'm still me. I don't believe in that whole other half thing. I was a whole person before the marriage. I'm still a whole person, but this person is complimenting me massively. You know, I'm doing life with this person now. So my friendships, everything should still stay the same. But in terms of people getting involved, it's not that I have a problem talking about my marriage to friends or whatever, but one, I'm conscious of talking about marriage stuff with single people, especially if they're not happy that they're single. So you don't want to look like you're rubbing in their faces. So I'm conscious of what I say. I have, most of my friends are prudish. They don't talk about sex. So I don't have anyone to talk about sex with them, sort of thing. I've got one now that does, so that's really good. So it's good to like talk about stuff, and you know, there's different friendships that you have. And I think when you get married, you automatically sift out the ones you should get rid of, the ones that are not serving you. And I think that has nothing to do with marriage. That's just friendships in general. if a friendship is not serving you mutually, then there's no friendship. It's very much one-sided. So I don't have those kind of friendships, if you see what I mean. So they haven't really affected me that much in terms of my marriage anyway. I don't, if I'm going to get involved in my marriage, like I come to you with an issue, then that means it's really serious. And to be honest, I think the first person I go to with any issue like that is my pastor before anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Tyler, with your boys or your female friends, how have you managed to sort of keep them? We keep our friends, but keep them away from influencing your marriage.
Yeah, like my friends from the start, from the get-go, were all great. There was one group of some of my boy mates that were a little bit funny, to be honest with you. But that's because I'm not. What I did when I first met my wife. So before we got married, we were together for 4 years. And when I first met her, I didn't tell her I liked her for 3 months. But in that 3 months,
typical man.
Everyone, no, because we were working together, so it was more like a friendship. So, but like everyone else knew how much I liked her, apart from her, right? So I think because I spoke about her so much to some of my guy mates, they were a bit like, they were a bit over it, kind of thing. Not all of them, just a few of them. So anyway, I think, but then when we got together and they saw that it was serious and they saw it was going somewhere, what I think is important is how you integrate that partner, whether it's that guy or that girl, into your friendship. Because at the end of the day, my pastor told me this years ago, right? He said something like, if you roll with me, we're friends, but if you can't now roll with me and her, then that's a bit of a problem. Because this is the person I want to now spend my life with.
Yeah.
You don't need to like her if you don't want to, but if you don't like her, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So at the end of the day, if your friends, you choose someone well and your friends like you and they, and you all get on, then there shouldn't really be an issue there. And like you said, there's some friends you have to say bye-bye to. I had some women friends that were friends. They were friends, but they weren't proper friends, So then when my wife come into the picture, it was kind of like, yeah, I may need to stop talking to these women now.
Smart.
And that's part of it, So yes, that's part of it. It's not an offensive thing. It's not like there was any beef.
It's just what happens.
But I agree with what Tyler said about the friends you have. They have to be of the caliber where they have to roll with you and the other half.
Absolutely.
If I was on the phone to two of my friends this week, and while I was video chat, my husband came in, and he's able to talk to them. They're able to vibe, and it's just, and it's that like, oh my god, it's you, that kind of thing, and that's just how it always is. So I don't have any friends that when my husband comes in, I have to hide the phone, or do you know what I mean? Like, where I'm kind of friends with them, like my husband's friends with my friends as well, if that makes sense.
Also, your friends can be free around your partner, and your partner can be free around them, so they could have a conversation and are able to sort of have a banter as well.
Yes, definitely.
A quick nugget just to add on the end of that, right? If you've got your good friends, your good girl mates, when you and your partner now have conflicts and arguments, whatever, you shouldn't now be running to your friends to tell them.
Absolutely not.
That then forms this, this opinion of your partner, your friends, and then when you now get back together and everything's fine, they're still thinking about,
conflicts in the marriage. I believe if you can't work it out with yourself, you go to people older than you, wiser than you, that can help you work it out. But if you're talking to your friends about your issues and you haven't resolved them, that's just tantamount to gossiping, in my opinion, because there's no point you bad mouthing your person to somebody else. It's not going to help anything. So you can talk about it later on when you cleared everything up. Oh my God, this thing happened, but this is how we resolved it. Because I always feel like people learn from other people's experiences. So if you share, you never know what they're getting from it.
See, I'm going to throw a spanner in there. Isn't that difficult? Because as much as, so you've had a little argument with your spouse, something's come up, and you found it difficult. I know the person you should speak to is your partner. You found it really difficult, but then surely, okay, I'll talk from experience. I've got friends who are like sisters, and there's certain things I don't talk to them about, but there's certain things that they can see it just by looking at me. They'll look at me and just say, Dee, what's up? Like, something's wrong. They can see it. And I'll just be like, well, this happened. And they'll be like, they will never, I think we've got to that stage. I guess it just depends on the sort of friends you have as well. We've got to the stage where they do not put judgment on me and they don't put judgment on him. My husband is now their brother because he's married to me. So it's that whole, they will say what they've got to say. They never really give an advice because they're not going to tell me what to do. It's up to me. It's literally just a shoulder or an ear to listen. So I think sometimes we do keep it away from friends, but sometimes you do still need to say certain things to friends because
you need to vent. At the end of the day, you're human, and you need to vent. And I think it comes maybe with age or maturity. I don't mean age like your age. I mean maturity in a marriage.
In a marriage, yeah.
Like what you said just jolted my memory. There was a time when I was fuming. When I say fuming, I could feel smoke coming out of my ears. That's how angry I was. And the only thing that made me feel better was to vent to a friend. And this is somebody that I trust. The way I classify really good friends are, if I can call you for bail, if ever I need bail, God forbid, it will never happen, then you're my true friend. So those are the kind of friends I know that what I'm telling them is because I need to get it out. My sister's one of them. I just need to vent, F and Jeff for at least 4 hours. Then I'm okay. So like you said, they don't judge me.
We are in this marriage together. They always put it that way. We all got married together. So we are in this together. It's how we sort of put it. But no, it is as you both yourself and Tyler said, friends know their level. Put it that way. Friends will know their level. They'll know you are now married. Those that needed to be filtered away, we've all filtered them away. And those that add substance, that add to the marriage, where they're there to support you, to sort of keep it alive. Well, you do the main thing, but you've got friends that sort of there for you. Those we keep close, and they're there for different seasons and for different reasons. Jude, I'm going to ask you, Jude, how do you take to friends and their influence on marriage?
I think Tyler said most of what I was going to say anyway. If your friends could not roll with you and your wife now, they were never your friends. But having said that, though, those people I call friends in my circle, those people I go around, not the type who will really keep friends. I don't have best friends and good friends and bad friends. I don't really do that concept. But those people who know me already know Madame. So she could be with them. We could be in a party and I'll leave her with them, and they'll just be like friends. They don't see her as wife of Jude. They just see her as one of us. Well, having said that, though, while you was courting, that's where the whole thing starts. How do you relate about her to your circle? I was never one to do that because it was always my personal thing. So I was never one. That was just me, because I was this very shy guy at the beginning, and I don't want people laughing at me later. So that kind of informed the way I move. So I have friends who come to me and they will, in front of my wife too, and complain and talk about their own relationship. And so when I have the opportunity to talk to them, you know what I tell them? I'm like, have I ever come to you with mine? They'll be like, no. I'm like, great. Do you know why? They'll be like, no. I'll say, the reason is I don't want you in my business. But you think I don't have my own issues? I do. But I can't be telling you my issues because of what I think it was what Tyler said. You don't want to start judging or looking at your woman that way. I've known this from when I was very young, when we was growing up back home in Nigeria. You have girlfriends who your friends know, and you'll be like, oh, my girl did this. She went with that guy. And instead of your mates to solidarize with you, they're laughing at you, calling you, you're not man enough. That's why somebody else took her. So all of that informed me. So that's the way it works. So I don't really have friends that I don't talk to them about these things. I do not, because I'm very strict with it is private. It is your thing. But that doesn't mean I haven't told people outside about things that happens in my house. Is because those ones are not in that circle of friends. They don't know my wife, if you understand what I mean. So you could talk about these things, but don't really bring that attention to yourself. So, but with aspects of my relationship, I don't really have any friend who would say, Jude has come to me and told me this or that, and then make judgment. It doesn't happen. That's a rule. I just think I shouldn't divide the public into it. It is our private business.
It's not the public now, it's your friends.
No, it is public. It is public, sorry. I don't even tell may her soul rest in peace, my mother. I don't think, if my mother was there, she would tell you, this guy's never called me to say, ask this question or say that thing. No. My elder brothers who are like my father figures now, they will never say, oh, this guy said that or that. But they all bring their own story to me. So I'm pretty sure they'll be wondering, are you that perfect? What's happening in your life? But that's just Jude for you. I've learned. That's just my life.
Okay, so Jude, let me put it this way. So because I know that when I've got times that I need to speak to somebody and not my husband, I've got family, so I've got my sisters, and I've got a handful of friends, or specifically 1 or 2 friends that I could speak to. So if you needed to vent, who would you turn to?
No one.
So how do you vent?
You just internalize everything.
Simple as that. That's Jude for you. I used to be very angry person. I used to be very legendary in my anger. My mom would say, "Don't let him get angry. That guy, he could destroy everything." I was that person because of what G just said. I would internalize. But again, like I said, it's because of the way I was, the way I grew up, the way I don't really want people to be in my business and laugh at me. Back home, we're talking about bullying. You see what I mean? So it's coming from that angle of bullying. When you tell people things, they start laughing at you with those things. It was really difficult for me. Yeah. So I really didn't like that. So that's why, that's informed the way I do my things. So I really
don't you think you'll be different now that you're an adult? Because obviously kids are silly, they're stupid. They say silly things.
Talk to you about it. It doesn't. I don't have it. Absolutely don't have it. Trust me. And I don't get in people's business. I tell them, I don't want to get in your business. You keep bringing it, but I really don't want to get in. Seriously.
And is your partner similar to you? So does she sort of process things the same way, internalize it, or does she?
She is similar to me. That's why we can cope. But
then that probably would work. So if you both
because she speaks a different language and she talks to our people a lot, and she speaks that language, I don't know what she's saying. So yeah, you see. Yeah, exactly. She speaks to her friends with that language. I don't know whether she's saying that this big head has done this again.
Probably. I think she is. I think because women notoriously in most relationships talk. We need to talk. We're emotional beings. When even the most I don't know, how should I say? Even the most manly ones of them, you need to talk. You need to say something to somebody.
But like I said earlier, I do vent, but not to this circle of friends.
Yeah. You speak to like a neutral person.
Yes.
And you touched on something, Jude. You spoke about, you said that you wouldn't, even to your mum, you would not even tell your mum. Your mum just didn't know anything in regards to if there was issues or...
My brothers.
There are people that if, for example, they were having issues in their marriage, they'll run straight to the in-laws. They'll run to the parents. So should parents be given or allowed to have that influence on their children's marriage?
No. Dangerous, man.
Tyler, what are your views on that?
That's a really dangerous path to go down, because then, you start complaining. I'll start complaining to my mom about my wife, right? Then, constantly. Then my mom's she's definitely gonna have that opinion about my wife. And when she's around her, when something comes up, there's no way she's not gonna be able to think, oh yeah, my husband said that about you. Imagine if something simple. I complained that my wife can't wash up the dishes or something like that, and then I keep on complaining about it. Now when my wife goes to my mom's house and we're cooking food,
mom say to her,
I want to wash the dishes, my mom's gonna be like, oh, he told me you can't wash the dishes.
I think also moms have this inherent thing in them that, especially moms of sons, that no woman is going to ever be good enough for their son. So the minute you give them a smidgen of something to hang on to, before you know it, it's grown into this big smidgen tree. It's just a seed, but now it's this big thing. So they do have this thing like, you see, you could have found somebody better, especially Nigerian moms anyway.
I went to this marriage seminar years ago with my wife, and one of the things, I'll just tell you one of the things that the husband said, and it was about the wife being number one over his mum. And he even went to the extent of saying, I'll ask this question to anyone who's watching, it's very, very deep question, but he said it. He said, if you're on a boat, right, and someone's gonna drown, it's either your mum or your wife, who are you saving? I'll ask that question to you now. I'd love to see your answers in the comments. And I'll tell you what he said.
Ask me directly, I'm gonna tell you.
I'll tell you what he said, then I'll ask you. He said he would save his wife.
His wife. But one was growing up.
Their wife or their mother.
Yeah, but one was growing up though. They made us, not they made us, I said my mother, because then I wasn't married anyway. And the reason why we said our mother was, you can't replace your mother, but I could get up and go marry somebody else. Or you could save your wife and your mother dies, and this wife will say, you're not good enough anymore, and she's gone. So that's how we I know that thing.
No, it's some people do allow their parents to get involved, and we know that I think that's even more toxic than it is to allow your friends to get involved, for the mere fact of you don't want your family to be able to put any form of judgment on your spouse. You don't want them to be able to, you don't want them to hold anything against them, or anything at all, whether it's against or it's just, you don't want to paint any pictures in their mind. E, have you had anything come up in regards to family and marriage?
Oh, me.
I would say though, just to clarify, if someone's being abused, like physically, then you need to
speak up. Yes.
In whatever way you can. And I know it's difficult for women especially to speak up on that, but I
haven't. I mean, I've explained the circumstances in which I got married, so there's no way I'm going to my dad about my husband.
But what about your siblings? Your
my siblings, definitely. I mean, even my younger siblings are not married. I tell them certain things that I feel might help them in the future, but not necessarily say, okay, this happened, that sort of thing. But I think because they're quite much younger than I, my immediate sister is married. She was married before me, so she's more mature in marriage than I am. And then my other sister just got married last year. And it's one of those things where I'm going to wait for either of them to come to me with issues. I don't get involved in their marriages, if you see what I mean. But at the same time, I don't, unless I have a reason to discuss my marriage with them, like something that I feel like they might learn from, or more than likely, if I'm talking to anybody about my marriage, you best believe it's because I need advice about something. So I don't just speak to people for sake of updating them on what's going on in my marriage. It's more for, okay, this is what's going on. What should I do? I can't get my head around it. And, help me out. And that goes for both the younger siblings, the unmarried friends and stuff like that. But I don't broadcast anything to my siblings like that about my marriage unless I need to tell them something, but no, I don't really. But it's not like it's a secret either. No, does that make sense?
One of the things I've noticed, especially as you say, as we mature within the marriage, is that as much as we say we don't talk to others, sometimes it is good to talk.
Yeah.
Because I've been in especially through this lockdown, quite a few of the Zoom, like wives to come online or marriage seminars, and I've been in quite a few different Zoom calls, and just to hear women speak out. And it's amazing how we all, as Jude says, he internalizes things. We keep things inside. We say what we have to, sort of thing, but we're not really speaking up. But I think sometimes we do, or we should speak out, because you'd be surprised that somebody else might be able to give you a few tips here or there, or something that you can do to help support the marriage.
I agree, but there's a difference in speaking out, and there's a difference in like slagging your partner off. You know, you can be like, if someone come to me and one of my good friends and they're married and they've been like, oh, look, we've been going through some stuff recently. And I'll be like, and if the issue they're speaking about, if I've been through it, I would happily say, yeah, you know what, we've been through that as well. But we got through it, we did this, we spoke, we communicated, instead of being like, yeah, she was a right this, he was a right that, he did. That's a difference. You know what I mean? So if you're speaking out, yes, but keep it constructive.
Constructive.
So that's a good tip for people out there. It's that whole speak out, but not slag out. It's that whole, you need to talk about something. You'd be surprised, because as I said, I've come up with quite a few of my friends, and I've mentioned something and it's brought into somebody else telling me they're going through something, and before we know, we can have a little talk about it. So there's no harm in speaking out. And as Tyler touched on earlier, if there's any form of abuse or anything going on within the household, do speak out, whether it's your family, your friends. It's not right for you to stay closed up in that marriage if you're not happy and you are being abused in any shape or form. But we're going to sort of talk about, because all of us on the panel here are parents, we've all had children, and we know that children can have an impact on marriage, because before we had the children, we could run around the house naked. You could do as you please around the house, as you know. But once the children arrive, things start changing up, and we then have the responsibility of the children, which we love and there are, I'm sure for all of you, your children are your world, but at the same time, we have to maintain that marriage. We have to keep the spark and keep things going. So, Jude, how do you keep that going within your household with the children and the
Why are you
spark?
laughing? Why are you laughing, D?
I can't wait to hear what you have to
That's
say.
why I looked it up on
can't wait. I sort of think I know, but I wait to know you have to go.
Yeah. Before I answer that though, just to reiterate what Tyler was saying. Yes, when I've had friends who come to me and say, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. I'm like, oh, that's happened too. But this is how I dealt with it. That's fine. Yeah, like not going out to slag. And sometimes though, I just like to keep it cool and say to them, you think you're the only one going through things? And what that statement does is it's just telling them to shut up, please, because I'm going through mine. Don't think you're the only one. Yeah, maybe it's a bit harsh, but to answer your questions with the children, oh my God. Wow. I've got 3, you know. So my daughter is 14, and the other one, the boy in the middle is 11, and the other boy is 6. It will be 7 in June. And he's always asking Google how long to my birthday, so I know, because I have to buy him some presents. Google keep annoying me, telling me 100 days remaining. Great. Me and my wife, we could have got our hands off each other. Maybe I just could not take my hands off her, you know. The bit about walking naked, you're right, you do that when you live in your own house. She still does that anyway. I don't know if I'm spilling too much, but not me. Yeah, so I just could not get my hands off her. It was just anywhere in the bathroom, toilet, kitchen, standing there, doing whatever. And the first time came. Yeah, man. Yes, trust me. I was that. Because I just thought, we in our prime. It was like the day was going to end the next day. So I had to just get it. Yeah, man. So my first daughter came, and we still were very hot, but not immediately. Because this is where, Tyler, thank you for what you did last week. We have to have knowledge, because I didn't know that it changes women's body. Like I always tell people, the man is biologically created the way we're created. I still wanted it. And yes, she was not ready. Oh my God, I was like killing myself, and I didn't know any of this. Nobody taught me, no father. Yeah. Like I said, I don't tell people my business, so I suffered all of that. And it went on for a while. Then this baby started breastfeeding. Then that's another trouble. Then this baby will crack through the night. You're trying to get some, and this baby will creep in the middle. Trust me, I know. None of my children slept on their bed. Trust me. My 7-year-old, who will be 7-year-old, is still in my bed. He's got his bed though. And people say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. They've even advised me to give him sleeping tablets. We can't get him off. Okay, the first one came, we still tried it, we still say, oh, she's sleeping. I will go, because I was active. Then the second boy came. He became tougher. Then the third one came. Forget it. Look, I'm going to say in pidgin English, I know the joke. It was difficult, and it's just crept into now. So I'm going to say, as an advice to people, look, this is your life, though. None of us planned for this. None of us knew that's how it was. First of all, the woman's body has to heal after birth. I didn't know any of that. Then they go through the period time as well. I didn't know what that does to the woman's body as well. The man, I'm just thinking, I want to get it. I want to get it. But I wasn't getting it. So all of that was just building frustration. Trust me, it's really changed that aspect of our lives. And trust me, if we get it now in 6 months, is to the glory of God.
It's 6 months.
How many children do you have? Let me ask. I have 3. You don't hear? 3. Tell me how many you have. So now I'm looking to buy a mansion so that I can send everyone to their dungeon. Bye. Exactly. Trust me, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, do you know what you could actually do? I was just trying to strategize for you in my head. Now that the kids are back at school, you're running up and down at lunchtime.
That's the perfect timing now.
I told him.
I know. Look, you think the body, how do they say it? The mind is willing, or one of them is not willing. One of them is willing. How do you say that language in the body?
Yes, yeah. I know.
The mental health, I need to take care of that. Let me tell you this. I'm an adult. We're all adults here. I will get up and I was like, this night, man, I'm gonna get it. I'll be preparing myself. By the time I get to the bed, the boy is still awake. By the time he gets sleeping, I'm the one snoring.
You need to retrain him in sleeping in his room.
My dear, it's too late. I've messed that. I've messed that up. Trust me, the body is willing, the mind is not. I'll be like, I'm getting it this morning. Nothing they stop me. Look, by the time I wake up, I try to touch madam. The boy knows and just bring his leg like this.
You know what?
I'll get up and I'll leave.
A lot of people would understand. They were where you are. They relate to that. I know that a lot of people, when they've got more than two, because with one, I say it's okay, but with three, a lot of people, I can imagine that people listening in or people watching are thinking to themselves, you know what, Jude, I'm with you. It is difficult with more than one child in order for us to have that time. But then this is where we come with things like having date nights and finding a babysitter and having the time to spend time together where you can do what you want to do. Tyler, do you manage to get that sort of time, or what are your tips in regards to that? How to manage these difficulties or influences that we have?
I mean, first of all, I'm not gonna complain because my man Jude, I thought it was bad for me when it's like a week and a half or something, but boy, we've only got one child at the minute, a year and a half. So you know, we still have our dry spouts. But I'm not gonna complain. So, but one thing that Jude was saying that is very real is that moment after after a woman's given birth and that period, men, this needs to be a conversation with men, because like exactly what Jude said, no one taught me about that. No one taught me that, there was going to be this months of, however long, and the woman's still, bleeding and stuff and all this kind of stuff. It's like, these are conversations that we need to have because, statistically, a lot of men go missing during that period. This is how, when I think of my uncles and, not just family uncles, but, uncles, elders, that have two sets of children that are like 2 months apart. That's how it happens. It makes sense now, but this is a conversation we need to talk about, because certainly if I have a son in the future, God willing, then I'm going to be having that conversation with him one day, because we need to learn about this, but I agree with you. Date nights, obviously it's difficult now with COVID and stuff if you're at home, but it's just setting aside that time, daytime, whatever. But I think, Jude, you need to get a lock on your door or something, bro.
We do.
Shut them out, man. Shut them out.
We really do.
No, so I'm just gonna, because I'm looking at time as well, I'm just going to talk about the tips that we can give or the things that we do to just...
No, we'd like to hear from G. Come on, don't do that.
Okay, sorry. G, let's hear it.
What's the question?
The question is
kids.
Impact of children on the marriage, but then impact in regards to making sure you get
keeping the fire going.
That's it.
Well, before kids, let me try and remember. It feels so long ago. Before kids, it was, first of all, my husband and I were in a long distance relationship for 4 or 5 years before we got married, before he moved here. So obviously then we wouldn't see each other for months on end. So that was just, and I'm not into technological sex. It's just not something I aspire to. So, and then obviously when he came over, like Drew said, did it everywhere because, we're now in the same place. And then the baby came, and I think also women are different in pregnancy. So some women, when they're pregnant, they're randy all the time. They just want it all the time. And some are just like, don't even, the thought of anything coming anywhere near down there. I was one of those. I was just like, nope. So that aspect kind of dried out a lot quicker than it probably should have during my pregnancy. And then after the baby came, I think when we finally got back into it was because I had to medically, because the doctor said, after so and so many weeks, so you have to do it because we have to make sure everything is fine in there. And I remember I was dreading it. Like I was dreading, and I think my husband was also a bit apprehensive because it's been such a while. And
like a virgin.
Pregnancy, when the baby came, my husband didn't sort of, he's not the kind to be like, oh, I'm gagging for it. You just don't know.
Yeah.
It's just very much blank. You just don't know until maybe you flash a boob or something. They're like, oh, okay, fine. You know. So it was very, he didn't say anything. He didn't complain. He didn't, you know. And then, so we did it for medical reasons. That actually brought up a problem that I had to go get medically fixed. So that was fine. But then to get back into, I think as a woman, the tiredness, the sheer tiredness. I can't emphasize or explain. There's 2 colleagues at work that are pregnant, and I keep saying that. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going on holiday. I'm like, it's not holiday, you're going on maternity, it's not holiday. But and the tiredness, I can't explain it. There's no amount of Red Bull or Coca-Cola or whatever you can take to kind of boost the energy. But again, I think using what Ju said about the mind has to be willing. And I think I was very aware that, okay, I'm married to this man. He will never step out on me. I have to do my part, because at the end of the day, it's a fundamental human need, basic need for men and for women. And to that, I just have to, you know, if I need to buy the fancy looking pant and bra, go and buy it. Just do what you have to do to keep that,
to keep it going.
My worst nightmare will be the day I think my husband doesn't fancy me. Like, that's my worst nightmare. So for me, it's just because I know men are very visual people. So I kind of have to, keep it.
Yeah.
You have to try. You can't just slob around in your pajamas that you've been wearing for 3 days.
Come on.
You know, you kind of have to just.
Tyler's like, you're hitting it.
You know what I mean? You kind of have to, even if nothing happens, if no action happens, just looking in the mirror, be like, you know what? If I was a man, I'll do me too. That kind of thing. You know, you kind of have to give yourself that sort of.
No,
and as a mom, you want to.
That's a real thing, though.
You want to know you're still sexy as a mom, as well. So
that's a real thing. What you're saying, that's a real thing. You think of the average man or whatever that wakes up, the woman's in her pajamas, headscarf, whatnot. Then he's going to the office where there's the secretary looking all good, and I'm not saying this because of, I'm just using this as an example, but you know, that's what he's seeing every day. Next thing it becomes a little bit of flirting and whatnot. And then when he comes home again, same back to rags. I mean, it's like sight is very powerful. You know, we're not saying that we want you to start dressing up every day. No. You know, the effort that was there beforehand when we were wooing and hunting, as Jude's favorite word. let's see a bit of that effort in the marriage, even though it's hard with kids and you're tired and all that kind of stuff. We understand that, but there still needs to be something, because that period is almost like, and this is going to sound extreme, but it's almost like we feel a bit used as like we're trying to make babies. Once the babies now come.
Yes, I was that woman. I was like, oh yeah, ovulation, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
We're fulfilling the scriptures, eh?
What I was going to just say is, do you have any tips or any guidance that you wanted to give anyone in regards to, because we've got these things called the intimacy cards. So like he'll pull out a card and it will say, over the next week, we have to do certain. So it'd be something like, say this word to each other every day. Or
can you send me the link to get them cards, please, after the show? Thank you.
But there's certain things we do, and we've actually even spoken about, because through this lockdown, we've spoken about booking nights away into a hotel, just once every quarter. So we said once every 3-4 months, book a night away where we can spend some time together. I don't know, what have you guys thought of, or what do you guys have in place just to ensure that you get that moment together?
I think G said something which is old school, and it's still the most suitable and still the most how do I call it, the most effective is having people come babysit you, or not babysit anymore, come watch over your children and have the time out. That is key, and that's something me and my wife has never done. We did it long time ago. We left our daughter and the boy, I think, with her friend, went to the Royal Albert Hall to see Christina Aguilera and Seal. We bought that ticket, big money, and we ran out after 2 songs because we just could not take the panic our children were with somebody else. So I think that's the old school way and most effective way to do it. And again, like she mentioned, try to spice the things up by changing your dress. Tyler mentioned it. I've said it before in a different show, and they were like, "Woo!" that's not good, but that's what it is because we're visual people. I don't think my wife would want me to just be in one boxers every day for 1 week. She'll be like, this guy's dirty. Come on. Like I said, she speaks a language to her friends. She'll be saying, this guy's dirty. I know. So yeah, I think the old school way and still effective is and that's what I'm going to look forward to do once we come out of this lockdown. Spend that money, get those people, build that confidence to be able to leave our children with other people, because we've never been able to do it. Trust me, we've never been able. It's not about the money. It was just because we never had that confidence to leave our kids. Maybe it's because we watch too much American sitcoms and all of that. I think that's the most effective tip I would say people should do. Trust me.
Tyler, do you have any tips?
What you said was key as well, but I think when you are together, you know, obviously we're in lockdown, people can't really leave kids and stuff at the minute, but I think have fun together. Like that's mine and my wife's thing. You know, it's coming up 8 years of being together this year.
Well done.
And it's like we just have fun. You know, sometimes we're just dancing around with music. Even my daughter now, she's 1.5. We just put music on and we're just dancing, laughing, watching movies together, having fun, playing games. We've got a lot of games we love to play. She always beats me in trivia games, but I still play them anyway. So yeah, just have fun, man. You know, and that is key, I think. You know, to sustaining.
Yeah. Dee, do you have any last words before I round up?
I'll say be intentional. Like literally in all your jobs and your to-do list, your marriage is also there. So be intentional. So just before, literally the week before Boris said we're going to lockdown, I'd found a nanny that would come to the house to stay with our child till whatever time we decide to come back home. And I'd booked her for the next 4 weeks or four dates anyway, before everything was cancelled. And I knew exactly what we were going to do on the dates. We're going to do just fun stuff that we never got to, because like I said, we dated long distance and then we started married life together. So we never, and then there's the hustle of getting working, that kind of stuff. So you have to be intentional in terms of getting somebody to come and watch your kids, and then buy each other fun stuff. Like, I know what each other likes. Like my husband knows I like fancy hotels. I like hotels. He knows my perfect date scenario. I want to be taken to a nice dinner and I want to be whisked to a hotel. And he did it last year or the year before. And I was not expecting it at all. He'd organized who was going to babysit, everything. That to me was romantic. There was not one flower in sight, but that was romantic. And also, women, buy sexy underwear for your husband. Buy the underwear you want him to wear. He may not, but you surprise you. Like I am from time to time.
Speak it.
Just as I am the hunter man, you are the underwear lady.
Yeah, just get your man. If you want him to wear thong, buy him a thong.
Oh my gosh, the lacy one.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've had such an amazing evening today. We've spoken about our views in regards to marriage and the influences that can occur in a marriage. We've also sort of laid down a few tips in regards to the things we do to sort of spice up our marriage and to keep that love going and the bond going between ourselves and our spouses. We know the key is communication, having patience, being honest, and having fun. Being best friends with that person is vital. It's key to just know that that is your best friend. One thing I want to say to you all is if you can just subscribe to this channel, hit the like and as well the notification button, and we will see you next time. And this is us. And as we always say, we have arrived.
Dab.
Nice. Dab.
That's my new sign off now.
Oh, I got it.
Right.
Oh.
Good stuff.
There was a line I wanted to put at the end and I missed